In this video, you will learn how to create a collagraph board. Collagraph is a printmaking process where one applies glue to a flat board such as chipboard and then applies flattened objects, gesso, or paint to this board. Like all forms of art, the imagery can range anywhere from realistic, abstract, to geometric forms. As a media, collagraphs lend themselves to collage, monoprints, or smaller editions. When thinking about what materials to use to create your collagraph, keep in mind during the inking process, the ink will rub off surfaces that are smooth or higher and stay on surfaces that hold more ink at the edges and at the low points, thus creating the image. When thinking about applying what to apply to your board, you should concentrate on flat objects with texture. Some of the things you can use are organic objects, as long as they are fresh and will not rot, fabric, string, tape, tinfoil, saran wrap, sandpaper, hot or cold glue. Do not use anything sharp, abrasive, or that sticks up. This can hurt both the brayer and will rip the paper. Worst case scenario, it will also hurt your baren or your spoon. Objects like these are rocks, glass, or razors. Now I'm going to show you all the things that you need. This is the chipboard that I've cut down. I have glue, and Elmer's is fine. I have the polyacrylic, or you can use shellac. Make sure it is water-based, and wash your brush once you've used it. I have my brush, it's a just regular chip brush, and I use that for the glue to apply it to the board. Then I have a spoon, I have my scissors, I have this plastic card, or you can use chips, and then those were my objects that I'm using. And first I'm going to show you a trick. I always cut off the top of the bristles of the brush so that the bristles are flat, and then I take my plier and clamp down onto the metal so that the bristles don't come off while I'm actually using the glue. And this is true of when you're doing painting as well. Now I take my first board, and notice I put wax paper down. It's to protect my table. This often gets very messy. So I'm putting a lot of glue down. Make sure that you put enough that you're going to cover the entire board. And then you take your plastic chip or your cardboard chips and you do what's called carding glue. You put it across the surface evenly, making sure that you hit all points of the board, including the corners. Now I'm taking my object, which is fabric. I'm patting it down. Sometimes you can also use a spoon. And then now I'm cutting off the excess. If it's coming up, this is a good time to add more glue, and make sure that it's pushed down really, really well, because otherwise the glue can print. Now, after the glue has set for 24 hours, I paint shellac on top, or the polyacrylic. This will protect the board when you're actually inking, and also the board is so thin that often it can become unformed over time with the ink. So when you're putting it through the press, it's really important that you put shellac on the board to protect it. Make sure to cover all of the areas of the shellac with the shellac, and then let it sit overnight. Make sure to wash off your brush. Here are a couple of examples of boards. The ones that are black I've already printed, so it can show you where exactly what prints and what doesn't. There's tinfoil. The glove is really hard to print because it moves a lot when you're actually printing. So make sure that everything is really flat, but you'll see hot glue, you'll see fabric and twine, etc. And that's how you make a collagraph board.